Okay, we're going to continue with the A over P with a mortgage example, and I'm going to use my real mortgage situation to give you another example. All right, so my wife and I, we have a house, and it's a pretty nice house, and it's not that expensive, but it's a nice house. Okay, what we have is a mortgage, and it's 4.25% APR. That's the nominal, that's not the effective rate. So how much do I pay the bank per month in terms of interest rate? So I go 0.0425 divided by 12 months is equal to 0.003517 per month. Now let me just give you a tip, folks, is that financial institutions, whenever they do calculations, usually go out to 10 or 11 decimal places. That's for people with mucho dinero, but for a person like me, it doesn't really matter. Okay? All right, so let me draw the cash flow diagram. Now, I don't know exactly how much I have to owe the bank, which is my principal. So I don't know what my principal is, but I do know this. I have 5 years left on my mortgage. Now 5 years is 60 months, correct? And my I is equal to 0.003517 per month. And I know that my A is $707 a month. Why? Because I look at my statement every month. This does not include property tax. This is for principal plus interest. And my property tax is approximately that much per month too. So I have 5 years left. I have 60 payments of $707. How much do I owe the bank? This would also be called the balance or principal. Well, that's an A over P problem, and we can solve that quite easily. Now, what most professionals will do, realtors, etc., is they'll use this little calculator. This is a $25 TI business calculator. Don't buy the expensive ones because this is sufficient. This will do a cash flow diagram analysis. But before you use this, you need to understand how to do the cash flow diagrams manually. Otherwise, I think people are what I would call armed and dangerous. Okay? So make sure that you really understand the cash flow diagrams. All right. So my P. What is my P? So if I go, I'll do this. P is equal to my A of $707 times P over A, and my interest rate is, and N is equal to 60. Now, so if you go to the tables, you go, now I need an interest rate of 0.0035. Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. 0.25%? 0.5%? Wait a minute. That's not in here. So what do? Does that mean you just give up? You go home and say I can't solve it? Of course not. None of us are quitters, right? Here's where you have to use the equations. Now, from the Newton book, they have a nice sheet of equations. These are the equations right here. I already showed you the F is equal to P times 1 plus I to the N. But what this is the equation for F over A. This is A over F. This is A over P, and this is P over A. And so we're going to use the equation to solve for exactly what is my principal left. All right? So let's go to the next page. All right, so what we're going to do is this. We're going to use the equation from the Newton book, which, by the way, is on the inside cover of the book. And the equation is this. And folks, don't memorize them. I give all of my students, I allow them to bring in a whole sheet, 8.5 by 11, of equations. They can write anything they want on them. and so they don't have to tax their memory for memorizing this stuff. It's just not a good use of brain power. So here's what we're going to do. This is P is equal to A times 1 plus I to the nth minus 1 over I times 1 plus I to the nth. And folks, nobody wants to memorize that. That's why you have a reference table. All right, so this is equal to 707 times 1 plus 0.003517 to the 60th power minus 1 over 0.003417 times 1 plus 0.003417. I'm going to spare you all the gruesome details of calculating that. And ladies and gentlemen, what that means is this. My wife and I now owe the bank $38,160 on that loan. The loan was originally $120,000 about, 10 years ago. And what that means is this. If I were to win the lottery of $100,000 or so, I could take $38,000, of course after taxes, pay the bank $38,160, and that mortgage will have been paid off, and then you can burn it. It will be gone. And I will be debt-free, living in my house. And the only thing I would have to pay for then would be property taxes and maintenance, etc. All right? Make sure, though, that you do not have a penalty for prepayment. Make sure that you have no prepayment penalty in your mortgage. Whenever I do this, I sit down with the realtor and I highlight it and I circle it just to make sure everybody knows there's no prepayment penalty. All right, here's another example of a F over A problem. Let's say you want to buy a Harley-Davidson motorcycle and you want to save the money rather than borrowing the money, okay? All right, so here's our cash flow diagram. And let's say you want to buy a nice one that costs $15,000. And let's say your money is in an account that's a very relatively risk-free, low percentage, 3%. Not much at all, okay? And so how much do you have to save each month to buy that? So why are these going down and that's going up? Because at the end of each year, this is year, at the end of each year, you're taking money out of your pocket, you're putting it into this savings account, and then at the end of the fourth year, you take all the money out, which means it goes into your pocket, you give it to the Harley-Davidson dealership, and you buy the motorcycle, and then you can have fun riding on the motorcycle. All right, so do we have all the components of a cash flow diagram? We have N is equal to 4, we have I is 3%, and we have an F, which we know is 15K, and A, we do not know. All right, so how do we calculate A? Well, very simply, we're going to do this. A is equal to F times, now I know this is 3%, this is 4 years, so I'm going to get rid of the F, keep the A, this is 15K times, now we have to look in our book, our tables under 3% page. A over F, 3%, where's my A over F? A over F, N is equal to 4, and you see it's right there, 0.2390. So my A is equal to $3,585 that I have to invest in, or put into my savings account at the end of each year for 4 years, and it will have $15,000 at the end of 4 years if it were to gain 3% a year. All right, let's do something here. This is what I always like to do, is you sum the bottom and you sum the top. So what's the sum of my top? Oh, it's 15,000, correct? What's the sum of my bottom? It's 4 times 3,585 which is equal to $14,340. Why is the sum of the bottom less than the sum of the top? It's because this is what is called an investment. It is not a loan. What is the difference? The difference is $660 of interest, which has been collected over those 4 years, and that's why the amount that you put in is less than the amount that you receive. Notice this is not a lot of money because, first of all, it's 3% and it's only 4 periods. One other thing to notice is this. This last A collects no interest. It's only these 3 A's that are generating the interest. Y and the period convention. It's quirky, but that's how all the tables in the engineering economy books work. So we have to follow that convention. Let me tell you about the sum of the top and sum of the bottom. Okay? There are 2 fundamental types of cash flow diagrams you have. You got loans and you have investments. A loan looks like this, where you are receiving your money early and you're paying it later. And in this case, the sum of the bottom is greater than the sum of the top. And the reason is this, is you have to pay the interest. Now the other type is an investment, and it looks like this. Where money comes out of your pocket, it goes into some sort of investment, you're earning money, and then you retrieve it later, it goes into your pocket. So in this case, the sum of the top is greater than the sum of the bottom. So after you do your final calculations, this is a good, quick way of checking whether your answer makes sense. If it's an investment, sum the top. Is it greater than the bottom? Yes. If it's a loan, you sum the bottom. Is the sum of the bottom greater than the sum of the top? Yes, it makes sense.